It's been a week since we actually did our first impressions on both Asuka and REI, and I think it's time we go and check all the usual tier lists online to see where they are placing both of these characters. Now, when it comes to my account personally, since we are kind of poor, I got Asuka with 3 elemental lines, 2 attack lines, 777. I'll invest a little bit more on her skill 1 and probably on her burst 2. And when it comes to my REI, I got her to 747. You'll see this as we talk about the skills, but her skill 2 you can completely ignore. In fact, this is a character you don't even need to be pulling for in my opinion, but that's just me. And I got her with 2 elemental lines and 1 attack line, so they are not super invested, but it is what it is. Now, before we start, as usual, hello the internet, welcome back to the Waifus. I'm Sefhi, your favorite gambling addict. Today we're talking a little bit about Pridewin and Nikkei GG, where these new characters are on their tier list, and of course, leave a like, subscribe, help me grow the channel, and let's get started. Also important, Sefhi, what about your own website? Where is the rating for these 2 new units? Hey, we are working on the new website, as you can see in this message right here, right? So until the new website is done, I'm gonna be a little bit slower updating the tier list specifically. The guides are still up to date, it's just the tier list themselves will take a little bit longer to be updated. Now, the new website, which is this one right here, I'm still working on it, so this is not available anywhere. But the biggest difference is that every time you are checking any of the characters, instead of going to a character page, what you will get is directly this pop-up. Now, this pop-up will not only contain the skills, but also the build with the cube and the stats, the pros of the character, the cons of the character, and some extra notes if they have those notes. And this is for absolutely every single character. You'll be able to check everything in here. And so, of course, some characters will have nothing, like Polly, which is like, we don't recommend investing in her, and she's like a government lapdog. As of nowadays standards on Nick, it's not really recommended investing in her. But that's gonna be like the biggest difference on the new website, where there is no character pages, and we get instead those pop-ups. Now, that said, enough rambling. Let's actually talk about the tier list for these 2 characters. And we're gonna start with the Pridewin first, and then we'll go over Nikkei GG, why not? For Pridewin, I've said this multiple times, I like the boss in tier list, it's the one I enjoy personally. So let's talk about both characters. Asuka on SSS. When she came out, some people didn't like her being so high. We'll see on their pros and cons what they have said. And we also have REI on an S. Everything SS, but on bossing she's S. So let's open both of them actually, and let's go over their reviews when it comes to the pros and cons. So reviews here and reviews here. Now, they are putting Asuka as the strongest win DPS currently. I think she competes with SBS. I do not think personally she is as strong as SBS, but then again, I am quite biased for my girl, okay? I am a Scarlet Sim. So take that with a grain of salt on my end. Even as a non-burst B3 DPS, he's stronger than the likes of Modernia. I do agree with this. In my case, for example, if it was as an off-burst DPS, I would first bring Winter Ludmilla as off-burst because she's providing with the damage taken. And if I don't have Ludmilla, because my Ludmilla has like really high investment, then I will be bringing Asuka if there is like no elemental advantage just as enough burst for extra damage. Because her damage, even outside of bursting, thanks to her skill 1, is like quite high. So she's really good, an amazing DPS, and she requires a lot less investment than, for example, Scarlet, okay? Because yes, my Scarlet is strong. It's strong after, spending 200 fucking rocks, Core 2, a doll max out, etc, etc, etc. So of course I'm gonna protect my girl and say she's better. I don't want my investment to go to waste, okay? Now, that's it, let's keep going with this. Very plug and play kit, you don't need to invest much to take her, to make her work like other DPSs, like I was saying. And conditionally strong doesn't depend on whether the boss has a core part or not. She's even stronger when the boss has them. Like every machine gun or characters that can constantly hit the core and have good base damage, because she has decent base damage as well at the 5.47. It's not like the basic side for machine guns, but it's still pretty good, and she has really good self boost plus all her skills, so she's constantly hitting really hard, core or not. But as usual, if there is core, you can take advantage of that. A cheaper to build is you only need to build the skill 1 mostly. Of course, you will benefit from building everything. But she's cheaper to build than a lot of the current characters we've gotten. I will still go for all the skills, specifically on Asuka, because how strong she is, it feels kind of a waste to be leaving some of her skills alone, because you can benefit from everything. Even a skill 2 with the attack damage is huge when you're bursting, but then again, if you are not going to be bursting with her, right, if she's gonna be a purely off-burst character, you can ignore the skill 2 and you can ignore the burst. You can just go for the skill 1. If you plan on using it on elemental content, then you need to invest on all of the skills equally, in my opinion. and then able to heal multiple units, treats paths as units to boost her damage, then whatever the fuck she says on the game, and top 5 MLB lobby screens. That's a really big cap. Now, I love Pride one, okay? But that's cap. I'm sorry, but when we talk about MLB screens, it's hard to beat the good ones, the summer ones. It's hard to beat the dogshit Romani or Clay and Bay character MLB backgrounds, right? It's hard to beat Naga, Treasure Helm, Summer Mary. There is so many good backgrounds, but then again, I'm a Coomer, so I'm just citing the ones that show Booba. So, so kinda biased in there. Now, that said, let's go over the cons. Requires REI to reach her peak. She doesn't really need her, like they're saying on the second phrase. Like, I still maintain my opinion, you can completely skip both REIs. Not just tentative name, both of them, you can skip them. They are not worthless, but considering the amount of resources we get nowadays, unless you like Evangelion or you're a collector, you can skip them. And you will be able to still have one of the strongest win DPS characters and strongest DPS in the game without her. Relies a lot on all lines. I feel this is like nowadays not even a con per se, because every character we need to actually be building them. If you want a good DPS to be doing great damage, you need to be getting good lines, nothing else. Skill scaling is terrible for a skill to 1 burst, agree, but still you need those if you are planning on using her on elemental content. FPS dependent, which also fucks her up in PvP. For those of you who don't know, machine guns are limited to actually 30 FPS on co-op, on PvP, and then if your phone cannot sustain 60 FPS, your damage will be affected as well, which it is what it is. It's something Nika since day one has been like that. Doesn't look like they will change it. Now, funny enough, there is characters that does not matter if you're at 30 FPS, they will still destroy every other character in the game, like is the case for Rappi. But it is what it is. Not sure how to feel about another Evangelion collab, but the MLB screen is super. Honestly, when it comes to the second part, I think most people agree that it was unnecessary. Most people prefer something new, and even more so considering the first one was poorly received to begin with. Now, let's talk a little bit about REI tentative name. Like I was saying earlier, TLDR, you can just invest on a skill 1 and on her burst. If you don't want to be bursting with her, just go for a skill 1. Her kit kind of falls down if you don't have Asuka. Like, on her own, she's not a good character. And then when we're talking about like this buff to machine guns, it's not good. Like, the MG hitting up speed benefits Asuka in this case because of her kit. But for the other machine guns, nowadays you either have a lot of reload speed on your characters, or you have already good lines that allow them to be shooting infinitely or almost infinite. Right? So, strong win DPS, I would say she is decent, but we don't have good win DPSs until now, so that automatically puts her above the other characters. High damage nuke for both PvP and campaign. I will not talk about PvP, you all know I do not do that, okay? Small attack buff for all allies, solid DPS against bosses with no core, synergy with Asuka WILLE. I don't think it's like synergy, it's mandatory, it's like bunnies, it's like mates, it's like Tianaga, things like that. Like, you need these two characters. If you plan on using REI, you need Asuka. REI on her own is not really worth bringing. Cool and unique name. I don't like the name. I think tentative name is quite bad, but I haven't watched Evangelion. I don't know where it's coming from, alright? Requires Asuka WILLE to reach her proper potential as a DPS. Even with Asuka, her damage is not that good, bro. Like, we're talking about a character that's still above average because there is nothing else on wind. If you compare her to like any other normal character or DPS on neutral element, she loses that edge. Her base weapon multiplier is lower than meta DPSs. We talk about this on the kit analysis, if I remember correctly, but the 14.71 for an assault rifle, it's awful. Like, in contrast to other assault rifles, it's pretty low. Like, I'm not gonna be comparing it to, for example, Scarlet, because clearly Scarlet is the highest base damage, and then 2B is the lowest base damage. But the other assault rifle, as you can see, is 18 on the previous collab. This is a 14, that's a 4% loss already in there. If you talk about Sakura, which is another win DPS, is 13, but it's sustained damage. Like, it's really low in contrast to what other characters are doing. But it is what it is, shift up shenanigans, right? True limited collaboration character. Now, never say never, we might be getting an Evangelion Part 3 at this rate. Skill 2 is practically useless and low value, even though on paper it sounds good. We renamed for real. I think the biggest problem with the skill 2 is that even on paper it's not that good. Like, when we talk about the skill 2, she's giving attack, which it's caster's attack, but it's a low percentage, it's not an amazing buff, and then the MG hitting up speed, like I was saying earlier, nowadays it's useless. there is barely characters that can take advantage of this as of today, because you're running reload speed, you're running a lot of max ammo on your machine guns, so it kind of doesn't make sense outside of specifically being made for Asuka. So a skill 2 is like, even at the level 1 you could believe in it, a level 4 minimum just for the extra attack a little bit in there, but even a level 1 717 would work for her. Now that's about Prime 1, let's have a look at Nick AGG and where these two characters are. So let's go up normal and have a look. So we have SS for Asuka. Looks like they do not have REI yet, so we will only be checking this. So they are putting her with like an 8 for story, 9.7 for bosses, which I think is similar to SBS. SBS 9.7, Asuka WILLE 9.7, and then for PvP a 5. They are recommended 10.77. I would also recommend going on her burst to level 10. But then again, it really depends on where you want to be using her. And then Asuka WILLE has comparable DPS to Scarlet Black Shadow. Contrary to first impressions, she does not need to be paired with REI to function properly. Very strong single target Nick. She will be used on all elemental content moving forward for Wind. Because again, we need 5 teams, and right now we have 2 for Wind only. You have the SBS team, and now you have your abnormal character with these two girls. So we still need another 3 teams. The other Wind characters, we don't count them. Okay, they are not good. This still doesn't count as, oh, we have more characters to build. Sakura, XD, Mana is a buffer, and Nori is a support as well. So they are not really DPS per se. Still, I agree more for the rating for Nick AGG that I do with Prime. But then again, on Nick AGG, Scarlet is not on SSS. She is actually on SS. Overall, most tier lists have them on the same place. Honestly, if I were to put them somewhere right now on my own tier list, I would be putting them most likely on a T0 or 0.5 when it comes to Asuka. A T0 most likely, since she's a really strong character, and if we're comparing off-burst DPS even to Modernia, right, we could be putting her there, absolutely no issues. And then a T1 most likely for the new REI, because how useless she becomes without Asuka, just because of that. But yeah, T0 and T1 most likely is where I would be putting them on my own. Again, I will be a little bit slower when it comes to updating the tier list until I am done working on the new website, which will take most likely like a month and a half, hopefully. It's a lot of information basically to just pass and transfer. All that jumping aside, though, that's gonna be it for this video. Just wanted to go a little bit over where the 2 new girls are. And like I was saying on my previous video with the priority, if you are wondering if you should be pulling or not, just go for both Asukas. Also, Mary is an amazing option. Like the new Asuka, old Mary, the old Asuka, you can skip both REIs unless you are a collector. If you're a collector and you like having all the abnormal characters, then you are kind of forced to be pulling in here for this banner, but like this one. That's gonna be it for this video though. As usual, we stream every single day. Feel free to drop by, links in the description. Good luck with your pull, the internet. I'll see you in the next one.
役立たずは楽園から追放するのみ。ブランとノワールのショータイムです。天地万物を切るとはこういうことだ。